can hear me okay? Good. So welcome everybody. I am Alan. I'm a partner with Antler based out of Berlin. We do this session once a month where we welcome one of the founders that are building their company with Antler to this, where we run a quick interview aimed at really showing a little bit behind the scenes and hearing it straight from the horse's mouth, no pun intended, what it's actually like to build a company with Antler. So the way we'll be doing this is we have exactly 12 minutes for this to make it really short, snappy, and to the point. So I'll start the countdown in a minute. Kilian will very quickly introduce himself. Kilian is obviously one of the founders. He's founder of a company called Physikit. He'll quickly introduce himself. He'll introduce what he's building, what stage the company is at right now. And then I will run through a quick fire round of questions where we'll be exploring a few of the things around kind of where does the team, where did the idea come from, etc. And then we have exactly 3 minutes left at the end for Q&A from the audience. So we have quite a few people dialed in here right now that I can see. So everybody in the audience, please do use the either the Q&A function or the chat function and throw out questions. And then we will take it from there. Shall we get going? You ready, Kilian?
Very ready. Yes. Amazing. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. Let's kick off the timer. Timer is running. You should all see that now. I'll get out of the way of the timer a little bit. Good. So, Kilian, who the hell are you and what are you building and where do you stand?
Amazing. Yeah, as I said, great to be here. Great to meet you through the Q&A later. I'm Kilian, and I had a funny journey from consulting through product management to ultimately founding my own company, because I noticed that I love to build things, but I love to do it in a less constrained way than in a corporate context. And that led me to Antler, because I was super convinced that it's important for me to have a co-founder that basically has zero overlap with my background, which is business and tech. And that worked very well with Antler in Berlin. I met Maros, who's a molecular biologist and laboratory scientist. And basically, after each meeting that we have together, we have completely opposite experience from the meeting. Either I'm energized or Maros, depending on the contents. And yeah, that's super exciting and glad about this.
Yeah, which is a great segue to ask a little bit of a kind of, talk us through a little bit, kind of how was that process of teaming up with Maros? How did you find him? I mean, you obviously have a consulting background from McKinsey. How did that all happen? How did that come about? When did you realize, okay, Maros is Mr. Right?
Yeah, quite funny. So I basically had to release my agenda a bit during the Antler program, because I was on the lookout after doing a second master's in computer science. I was on the lookout for like a super technical CTO co-founder person in the IT space to build a quite technical IT based idea that I had. But basically, what happens at Antler in the beginning is that you also get teamed up with the other participants of the program, which is cool because it brings you a bit out of your comfort zone. It helps you to look into spaces that you maybe normally wouldn't look into. And that happened exactly with me and Maros, because as I said, molecular biologist and laboratory scientist. So he had quite extensive experience with blood testing from a laboratory perspective. And basically, he previously already founded a startup in the clinical trial space where he used home testing, basically that patients take samples at home and send them to a laboratory to give inputs in clinical trials. And basically during one of these exercises that we had in the early days of Antler, we started to brainstorm around digital health, people wanting to do also medical things from at home. And then basically the home testing came in quite nicely, and that is ultimately what we built with Physikit, where we help different health providers to set up home testing in the most convenient way for them, so that they can basically improve the patient journeys that they already have, but also adding home testing. And that's how it happened for us.
Okay. And I mean, you're already kind of going into what I would want to explore a little bit more. Kind of, you came in obviously with a, and I remember our early discussions even before the cohort started, when we were discussing about your software-based idea. And then you met Maros, who kind of obviously came in with a more rough, preconceived idea around what to build. Talk to us a little bit through kind of that journey of zeroing in on that idea. When did you know this was the right idea, and kind of how did it evolve?
Yeah, I think it's actually quite important to really think from a strength-based perspective there when meeting people at Antler, because for Maros it was kind of obvious that based on his background, the business that he was going to build obviously has to leverage what he's good at and what his background is. And basically that honestly initially put me a bit off working with him, because I was not entirely sure if I wanted to follow 100% that direction that basically his background gave us. But what really changed my mind over time was basically the fit component between us. Because from a content perspective, easy to see, I have like a very much a generalist profile, consulting, business, tech, bringing that together. So basically for me, it was obvious that I was a bit more able to be flexible on which idea to be working on. And basically through these exercises that we had in the early Antler days, thinking together, sitting in a room together, brainstorming together, also on some other topics, I kind of changed my mind, because I saw how from a brainstorming perspective and working perspective, I was very much compatible with Maros and the other way around. And basically that took me some time to kind of really be convinced, but I've never regretted it since the Antler program. I'm super happy that we went exactly this route. And yeah, as I said, very complementary, and that's exactly how it works very well for me. Not a lot of overlap between the co-founders, but basically like a very good base for fast execution and pushing into the business.
Yeah, and talking of the kind of the business that it's become from the idea stage that it was a year and a half ago, what's the proudest moment so far?
I think the proudest moment for me was really when we actually started to send out test kits to paying customers, and basically moving out of the conceptual stage of a business into actually making money with it, seeing that there's customer demand, both from a direct customer. I mean, it's a B2B2C business model for us to a certain extent, from the B in the middle, but also from the C. So I think that was amazing. And then of course, in the same fashion now, closing additional customer contracts, building out different sub ideas in our business. I think this is what's super cool, to basically see that you have the power as a founder or as someone working in a startup to turn ideas into reality. That is definitely what I'm most proud about.
I can totally see that, and I got the full kind of photo story journey of Christoph, my co-partner, who was using your test kit last week.
Very nice, very nice. Have to send you one soon as well.
Yes, I'm scared of the results, but I should probably do it. All the more reason. Then reflecting a little bit of kind of like, of all the different things that you did with Antler, what was kind of the most valuable bit within your Antler experience?
Difficult to pinpoint just one. I think what was the most valuable for me overall is basically to be in a room or be in a scenario with a lot of people that are really have the same interests like you, namely to found a business at this moment in time, that have great backgrounds, that are pre-selected by you guys, and basically really have this kind of well-nurtured environment that helps you to push into founding a business. And I see this with a lot of friends and colleagues of mine that basically don't really know how to start. It's very painful to find a good co-founder, but then to have this co-founder be in the same mindset, be on the same timeline at the same moment. I think this is very challenging unless you go for a program like Antler. That was the most valuable thing for me.
Makes total sense. 1 minute until Q&A. Very quick one. What advice would you give other founders who are thinking about joining Antler?
I would say be open-minded with regards to people and ideas, and basically really let yourself be guided by your kind of experiences in a program like that, and not just your preconceptions of what your co-founder should look like, what the idea that you want to work on should look like. That's definitely what I would recommend, because ultimately this really leads you to having passion about what you're doing. This leads you to having like the right chemistry between co-founders. And that's definitely what I would recommend. Awesome.
Then, right on time. Let's go into Q&A. First question that has already come in. You as Physikit entered a couple of different incubator programs, incubator/programs. Kind of why was that beneficial to do so, and kind of what was the different roles of the different ones?
So we first
and was it beneficial in the first place? Maybe.
Fair enough. No, so we basically obviously have a healthcare based business model, and the space is quite specific. It's not like for example in maybe some e-commerce business models where basically the regulations and these kind of things are quite straightforward, but it's quite specific. And that's why our journey of first joining Antler and then joining a program called Vision Health Pioneers that is specifically focused on healthcare was a great one, because basically with Antler we could kind of on a macro level set up the business model, set up the business, set up our journey, and then afterwards kind of through a specialist program like Vision Health Pioneers get really guided through some of the specificities of the healthcare industry in Germany. So this was great for us, and I would also recommend this to other startup founders.
Plus, Vision Health Pioneers is one of those Berlin Startup Stipendium type grants, essentially, that is equity free. So it gives you additional runway with
precisely
no strings attached.
Precisely. Plus office space, plus a great network, and we still work with people from that network up until today. So yeah,
totally. Then next question from Rolf. When did you understand, okay, this is the idea, I want to work on this for the next years? It's here, it's probably decades more precisely.
Yeah. Definitely. No, it was actually a fun story, because after some time in the program, there was a little COVID outbreak, and basically Maros, with whom I had worked with a bit before, but he was just asking me, hey Kilian, I'm staying with a family friend, I don't want to infect her. Can I crash on your couch for some days until I will test negative again? And then I was thinking about it for a bit, but then I just said, hey, yes, let's do it. And basically then in that process, we literally ordered a flip chart off of Amazon and started to brainstorm in my kitchen, and really went into the detail of the industry, and I was convinced.
Yeah. Also, you had a quarantine in that space, right? So you saw a lot of each other.
Yeah, but I mean that was also positive to convince me that we both didn't freak out after seeing a lot of each other, and even in the quarantine setting. So yeah, that convinced me.
Absolutely. Then coming up on time, one last question. In your experience from the people that you saw in the Antler cohort, what type of people kind of were there? Kind of how would you describe for other people who are looking to maybe find a co-founder, what type of founders to encounter there?
Starting with the point that I already made, people that want to found a business at that specific point in time, people that you guys select well, that come from like very different backgrounds, both in terms of industries and in terms of other skills. And yeah, driven people, friendly people. I think overall, this is really what made it a nice experience for me, to basically have like a good mix of people, different backgrounds. Yeah, that's it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kilian. Thank you for joining. Thank you everybody else for joining. Thanks for the questions. Give us feedback. Berlin@antler.co is the right email. I hope this was helpful. Do reach out. It is, I think, always great to just talk to people who've actually done it, who are actually actively building their company. And I'm sure you can also reach out to Kilian.
Just wanted to offer it, yeah.
No, thank you very much.
Cool.
And thanks a lot, Kilian, for taking the time.
Sure.
We'll speak
Thanks for having me. Back to packing test kits now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good one.